with another weekly update for Motorsports news, and we're gonna get started with one that broke this morning, as Formula One has terminated their contract with Russia following the events that happened in Ukraine last week. Formula One was not going to race there this year after Sebastian Vettel spoke up, said he would not race there if the Russian GP happened as planned this year. Now, Formula One has officially terminated their contract, and Russia will not see Formula One for the foreseeable future. We don't know if what happens after this whole situation is done with. I'm sure Formula One, shouldn't say would love to, but they want to get back to Russia because now they lost a race for this season. That's less revenue for them, but I understand where they're coming from, saying, yeah, we're going to take a stand in this, just like everyone else. It's just cutting ties with Russia, and it makes sense. And Nikita Mazepin is on the verge of losing his ride too, because he's got no funding this year. He's a Russian driver, and no one wants to back him. Haas will look to fill that seat before the first race in the F1 series later this month. Now we have a penalty. The only penalty this week happened for the 38 car. He had a loose wheel that fell off. He will lose his crew chief and two crew members for the next 4 weeks in the NASCAR Cup Series season. SRX has announced some of their drivers for this season. Stay with me. It's a long list here. Tony Stewart, Greg Biffle, Marco Andretti, Ryan Newman, Paul Tracy, Michael Waltrip, Joseph Newgarden, Ernie Francis Jr., Bobby Labonte, Helio Castroneves, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Tony Kanaan, Matt Kenseth, and Haley Deegan have been announced so far. I'm sure they're going to have a lot more drivers to get into the seat, because I don't even think Chase Elliott was announced to drive at SRX until like a week before it happened. So keep an eye out. I'm sure they'll have more drivers being announced later in the year. Now, NASCAR has announced that they will have only one practice session instead of splitting them up into two different groups. They're going to have a 35 minutes practice session instead of the two. I think they had 20 minutes they had last week. NASCAR has said that they want to give the drivers an opportunity to be out on the track for more time, and it makes sense. New car, they never should have changed practice sessions. I'm interested to see if they'll keep the qualifying the way it was, but that'll be to be determined, I'm pretty sure. The PowerWise 400 was watched by 4.475 million people across all platforms. That was down across the last 2 years for the second race of the year in the NASCAR world. We'll see if they can pick it back up this week at Las Vegas. Marcus Allen will be the Grand Marshal at the Pennzoil 400 this week. Raider Great, he's back in the Raiders' hometown. Not where he originally was, not where the Raiders were originally from, but nonetheless, still, you should still be happy to see that Vegas is embracing the Raiders culture that they have now brought on into Las Vegas. NASCAR has said that they are interested in racing the Chicago Street Course in 2023. They did a NASCAR iRacing race there last year. Yes, iRace. So there's somewhat of a precedent. Not really, though. It'd be interested to see how they do this. Shutting down a whole street for a couple of days. I know IndyCar does it, but IndyCar is not NASCAR. NASCAR's got a lot more fans, they're going to have a lot more cars in the race. So I'm interested to see how this all plans out and this works. And then we have Ryan Truex. He will be in the car, the number 18 Toyota Camry, for 4 races in the Xfinity Series starting this week at Las Vegas. He will also be in the car for Martinsville, Darlington, and Texas. All those races will be before the end of May. So who knows if he will be extended past that? But it should be interesting to see how he does in the car this week for JGR. That will do it for us this week for the news updates. I'm Zach McAdoo. Follow me down there at ZT McAdoo on Twitter. Have a good night.